Information is good, especially when information benefits our daily lives. We'll cover today information technology, commonly known as IT, particularly how it relates to our computing lifestyles. I'll come to the talk acting like you all have no idea what technology is, what I'm going to talk about. This isn't going to be a too technical talk for you, but if you do understand what I'm talking about on a thorough level, then bear with me, and I hope for all of you to walk away out of this meeting today with more information than what you came in with. What I have in my hand is a picture of an electrical component that fits inside of a computer. It's a processor. What does it do? It processes information. It calculates, makes complex calculations. It can calculate trigonometry, calculus. I have one right here that actually came out of a computer. I cleaned it up for you all to see. That's the actual chip. No, it's not one of those edible chips. Think of a processor as your brain, but skip the art because processors can't make art like we can. Now we come to hardware versus software. Hardware is any physical part of a computer. For example, this processing unit. It's central to the operation of a computer, which is why we call it a central processing unit, or CPU for short. I always get a kick out of people who relate CPU to computer and computer to CPU. It makes sense, right? It seems like a good acronym. But this processing unit here is a piece of hardware. What is software then? Software, well first, hardware by itself isn't that interesting. It just sits here. It's not very pretty. You can paint it if you want. It won't be very operational if you do that, but it just sits there and it's a piece of hardware. It's a physical piece of equipment. Software then sits on top of it in a way for people to interact with this chip to make it do something. If I want to make it do something, I have to plug into it. And I use software to do that. Speaking of software and hardware, I have a CD drive here. I haven't used in many years. You plug it into a computer and you can run CDs. And you use software to run the CD because you plug into it using a Microsoft Windows operating system to use it. So you interface with this device. And that's hardware, and software is what you do to interact with it. Now coming to security. Let's talk about security for a moment in computing, because it's been on everyone's mind since the advent of the internet. We have three main online threats: spyware, malware, viruses. Every other threat falls beneath those categories, in my opinion. Spyware, number one, is when people try and steal information from you, or they want to spy on your activities. This is different from Google tracking your behaviors online, but spyware is particularly for thieves to gain access to your information. Malware, number two, is when people try to do harm to you for whatever reason. Maybe it doesn't really matter whatever reason, I'm not going to speculate, but malware, that's what its main purpose is for, is to just cause harm to your computer. And then you have viruses, number three, which are there to particularly do something to your computer, whether it to be delete everything or any number of reasons for viruses. Viruses just spread automatically. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? All of these items, online threats, they spread automatically. Some kid somewhere around the world, anybody around the world can write a piece of code that will infect one computer and then spread to multiple computers, and it's all done automatically. And that's using software, of course. So then we come to protection, obviously. You can be protected from most of these threats. The first one you might have heard of, it's called the firewall, but no need to stress over the word. I mean, it's just, it's something that you put on the forefront of your network. And Microsoft has graciously put in a firewall to everyone who has their systems, their software. A firewall essentially sits at the front of where your internal network is to your external is, and that's probably too technical for what I wanted to get out. But you have software-based and hardware-based. So hardware being the physical device, like a firewall, that would be something like that, but in a different shape. And then you have your software-based, which is what Microsoft has graciously provided us, that you can access via the interface on your computer, because you interact with the physical hardware via the software. A firewall is essential. You want to always have a firewall to block incoming from the internet, and also to block outgoing as well from suspicious activity. You also have, of course, you want to protect yourself from spyware. Believe it or not, phones can also get spyware. You want to protect yourself from these online threats by getting some programs. There are a lot of free ones, and if you really need the security, I recommend paying for some of those pieces of software, which I actually have handouts for all of you at the end that just has a list of software that you could download for free if so need be. A lot of manufacturers, they will put their antivirus software on your computer, maybe a free trial, like a 30-day free trial. The subscription expires, and then you're no longer protected. And a lot of people actually get infected that way because they just don't know. The manufacturers like putting a whole bunch of software in your computer when you purchase them. But if you already have an active subscription, obviously you want to keep that active if it was you who created it. Otherwise, you can inspect and check or call somebody on whether or not your antivirus is actually being active. Which is brings me to a term called real-time protection, which is actually just protecting you all the time. You don't have to worry about it. And a lot of the free softwares you could actually pay to get that kind of protection. If you're on a serious network, then go ahead and do that. But if you're on just you at home and that's all you do, then you'd be probably good with the free software, depending on your activities. It's always about the tools available, isn't it? So how did we get from here? We went from XP to Windows Vista to Windows 7. Now we're at Windows 8. Before my time runs out, I'll go ahead and hand out these little pieces of paper. Take them or leave them if you want. It's up to you. Microsoft Security Essentials is an antivirus program that's free. I found that any Microsoft program that has the word Essentials at the end is free. And it's fully functioning. The free software on the pages, there are no trial versions, they're fully functioning. You just get better protection if you pay for some of the services.